Hello and welcome to Take a Sip, a monthly show on which we at the Community Investments Program discuss grants with representatives from lodges across the country. My name is Sam Kayuha. I'm a programs coordinator at the Elks National Foundation, and I'm happy to be joined today by Jill and Paulette Goheen from the Huntington, West Virginia Lodge number 313. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be discussing the Lodge's 2022 Gratitude Grant Project. The Lodge partnered with the Children's Home of West Virginia in an effort to make life better for the foster children that they serve. Before we get started and get into the details of that project, I'd like to talk a little bit about the history you have with grants. So Jill, when did you start as the grants coordinator and why did you take on that role?
I think I've been the grants coordinator about 2.5 years. Truthfully, I took on the role because my father was the exalted ruler at the time, and the program had been a little bit dormant for a while. So he asked me to tackle that. I've kind of always worked in social services, so he thought it would be a good fit to get the program going again.
Okay, and Paulette, did you start working with the grants when Jill did as well?
Yes, I've always been a supporter of the grants, but my husband was the exalted ruler for so many years, and we've always done so much charity that when we talked Jill into becoming the coordinator, I was right on board with her.
Great, great. And clicking through your previous grants, it seems like you've served a wide range of populations, including literacy projects and working with mothers recovering from substance abuse. In this case, what made foster children a population that you wanted to work with?
Our area has been hit really hard by the opioid epidemic. And, and with COVID too, foster care is just stretched to the limits in this area. And it's just an ongoing need for multiple reasons. So we've had some contacts with different programs and different people, and that seems to be something that the lodge members really are on board with, especially. So we have worked with a few different agencies with the same goal of working with foster children.
Okay, and how did you first come into contact with the Children's Home Society?
Actually, a member that we met through a previous grant with our Facing Hunger food bank, she started working for the Children's Home Society, and she asked us about, partnering or possibly being the recipient of a grant. So we met with her and took a tour and kind of looked at the needs, and that's how it got started.
Okay. And my next question was about the tour that you did of the facilities. Can you describe the two facilities that you toured and what stood out to you in each visit?
We initially toured the administrative building with the member who is, I'm not sure exactly of her role, but she gave us a nice tour of the building. It's an older building that has beautiful grounds on it. And we noticed some toys laying around. And she went on to mention that this was also the site where children who are in foster care but had to be separated had meetings with their siblings there. They had time they could get together and play. Or if kids were in foster care and would have supervised visitation with a parent, this was also the site that they used. But we noticed there wasn't a lot there for the kids to do other than some baskets of toys. So the wheels started turning there. From there, we went on to the Children's Home Society of West Virginia also has a shelter for older kids, ages 10 to 18. That is about, maybe 15 miles up the road. So we asked her for a tour there also. And we went up there and met with the shelter manager and some of the workers, and we're actually able to meet some of the kids who were there. So that's a temporary foster home there. They're usually there about 90 days before they move on in the system. So we were able to meet the kids, take a real tour of the facility, see everything that's out there, and get an idea of the needs. We also talked to the kids and kind of found out what things they would really like to have. They were in quarantine for COVID, so what things would be entertaining for them, what they would like to do, and that's kind of how everything came into play.
Okay, and what were some of those items that they were asking for?
One little boy, he was about 10 or 11 years old. He really wanted remote control cars. He wanted to be able to race them. They have a nice outdoor facility as well as indoor facility, so that was one thing we had to put on our list because of this little boy. There was a lot, they have a nice gym there, but a lot of the equipment was old or broken. So we toured that and kind of took a look at what needed to be fixed up there. So there's some athletic equipment. And then they showed us a couple dorm rooms, and these were for some young ladies that were staying there. And some had some beautiful artwork in it. And they told us that, you know, a lot of the kids really used art as, you know, an expression, you know, a sort of therapy or way of expressing their emotions. So we decided to look at that type of those type of items too.
Okay.
And then additionally, they sent us a wish list that the staff had created. So we combined everything.
Okay. Yeah, it did seem like there was a large range of interests that were sort of that you guys had in mind when you were purchasing these items, from the art stuff to the more sports focused stuff. Yeah, it seemed like a wide range of things that these kids could take and use. And one of the things that really stood out was the playset. That was seemed like a pretty large project, big purchase for the lodge. Seemed to me like it could have been a 2 or 3 man job to put that together, but there were 6 or 7 Elks out there working on it. Was there a lot of interest from members about contributing to the project and helping to put that together?
There really was. One of the members took charge of the build. He's helped us in a build for a previous agency that we supported, and we kind of let him take charge of putting together his work crew. And we ended up with 8 Elks at the site that day. Of course, Mom was there as kind of the supervisor, organizer, and the men all worked on the build. It was quite a job, I think, more than they thought it was going to be.
Because it took several hours, but we were fortunate that the weather was just absolutely perfect. No rain, it wasn't too hot or humid. We were outside, so it was kind of, you know, we didn't have to worry about close contact with each other. And it went very smoothly, and it was certainly very rewarding.
Great, great. Were you able to hear from the children or the organization afterwards about some of the reactions to the donations in the playset?
We did hear from the children's shelter where the kids are housed full time. They were excited because we had a contactless drop off there. They did have apparently an active COVID case at the time. So we kind of played Santa Claus and piled everything on the porch, and they were really surprised to see the extent of what the Elks had provided. With the playset, we had a child who had been looking at the playset after it was delivered before the members could get there, who was so anxious for it to be there. And every time he came, he was looking for that to be set up. So I'm sure he was quite excited when it was done, but we didn't get to see that. I wish I had.
I'm sure
one of the employees told us later that they had taken, well, it was a social worker. She had taken her siblings there to meet, and she said they literally wore themselves out on that playset all afternoon. So that was a very rewarding thing to hear too.
Yeah, that's great to hear. It sounds like you two definitely consider this project successful. What were your biggest takeaways from this experience?
Gosh, I think for me, it was just the fact that what we accomplished and who we accomplished it for. Now, these are children that are in shelters and in foster care. And I think anything that we can do for them to make a more positive impact on their life, it is worth it right there.
Yeah, I think these kids have enough stresses that we can provide something to make them happy and put a smile on their face. That's wonderful. I mean, everybody worries about basic needs, but I think this is a basic need too for children.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you, Jill and Paulette, for speaking with me today and for sharing your experience with this project. If you were inspired by Jill and Paulette's story, please apply for your available grants by the January 17th, 2022 deadline. And if you like the show, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to receive a notification every time we upload a new video. Thanks for watching.